I want to take a few minutes and reflect on what I think every project manager's dream, at least it was my dream, is to know where we were going, to have a predictable project, to be able to have confidence that, at the end of the day, we were going to deliver the goods. Man, I leaned in hard on project controls, trending, cost and schedule, all with an effort to try to, get that, where are we going? Do I need to do something different today to change the trajectory of that project? And, the suspense for me was just a killer. In fact, I kind of got burned out on projects because I couldn't handle the suspense. It was so stressful. But first, I have a request of you. If this is one of your first times you've been exposed to project production management and operations science, I've got a request for you. So recently I got to hear Adam Stelter, who is NASA's Mars, a key player in the NASA Mars rover expedition. Okay, he said, "The curious mind stays agile, innovative, and competitive." So if you want those things, my ask of you is to be curious today. Instead of saying, kind of like, you will judge what you're going to hear today. I have no doubt about that, okay? But at least for today, set aside your judgment and be curious. All right, so I want to start by telling a story. And we were building a large onshore gas processing plant on a real type budget. So we had this strategy of, let's split big chunks of work. Let's put a lot of space between our contractors so that the handoff was really clean to the next, so we didn't have all these interference claims and all the stuff that would happen on past projects. So on this project, we said, we're going to put those spaces, those fire breaks between the contractors. So we're about ready to embark on the piling. We wanted to get all the piling done, all done and dusted, so that when we turn it over to the foundation contractor, there was no excuses, right? And we would get bids on uninterrupted work. The key strategy to our cost savings. We wanted to get really good bids. Well, we had the same philosophy for the piling contractor. In fact, we went out and bought all the piles in advance. They're concrete piles. They had to be coated. You can see those little black lines up at the top right-hand corner. That's all the piles just waiting for action. 2 years later, this is what the site looked like. Thing of beauty, huh? We were patting ourselves on the back saying, hey, this was actually pretty good until we all the bills came in and we were doing some reflection and saying, this wasn't such a good idea because we ended up spending 30% more than our budget and schedule. Well, how did that happen? This was unrepeated work, right? Now, the piling was out of sequence with the engineering, so we had to adopt a carpet piling strategy, which was more expensive, and the foundation costs. This doesn't even include the foundation costs that were resulting from that. That piling that we bought in advance with all that coating had a shelf life. Set out too long, we had to throw them away. If you go out to the facility today, you'll see those piles all around the roads. They're kind of like guardrails on the roads. They made use of them, but it wasn't the intended use. So we had to have more piling cast, and recoated, and that caused delays. We had design changes that just ate our lunch. There's 500 piles out there under the sand that only a small handful of us actually know about. We couldn't keep up with the piling contractor's capacity, so we had to pay them standby charges and disruption claims. And then we had all kinds of engineering workarounds that resulted from this. And then later on, we had some design changes. So we had to go in amongst those piles and those foundations and use non-piled foundation concepts. And they were super expensive and very time consuming. But that's not the whole of it. The real bad part of this is we tied up the cash that the company could have used somewhere else on another project, making an investment would have generated revenue. Now we didn't care. It's like not on our radar screen, not our problem. So Warner could have, in his business unit, could have been spending that money on, short-term investment to make more money for Chevron. So we thought this strategy of space things out, give ourselves room between the contractor was a winning strategy. And we busted our budget and schedule in the process. Okay? So what's going on here? Why did that happen? That's what I'm going to talk about. So, kind of back up. projects are really unstable and unpredictable. I mean, they're really kind of fragile. Is it because our teams aren't working together? I don't want to offend anybody, but there's always room for teamwork, but it's not going to solve the problem. Because our contracting strategy is not good, well, a whole bunch of different contracting strategies could be tried. I don't think that's the answer to our problem. Is it because we don't know where we are in the project? Our project controls? Maybe a little bit. Do we have gaps in our risk management? Well, I don't know. Can't estimate the cost of the work. Can't schedule the work. Those are all the things that I would have been thinking about as a project manager, as the root causes of this unpredictability. But I contend there's something much deeper going on here that makes projects by their very nature unstable, unpredictable, and fragile. And who's been on a project that got off track and you tried to right the ship? Yeah. Did it work? It hardly ever works. It's really difficult once you get off track. So I contend that deeper answer is in something called variability. And variability is something I've kind of learned personally over this last year, deep in my understanding of how can variability be a lever? How can it be something that could be controlled? Because, hey, it's stuff that happens, right? So, the kind of the classic definition, or the almost classic definition of variability is things that are dissimilar by design in the process, or things happen different than the norm or plan. Well, let me illustrate really quickly. Some of you probably flew here. I flew here. I looked at my map app. How long is it going to take to get from the airport to the hotel? It said 37 minutes. Okay, well, how long did it really take? All depends, right? There's some things under my control and some things not under my control. So what would be in my control? The route I chose to take, the form of transportation, the time of day I travel, right? Could make a difference. Number of stops I planned. Those are all decisions I could have made that would influence how long that 37 minutes was actually going to take. But there are a whole bunch of stuff that was out of my control, like, accidents, road congestion. Get behind some knucklehead that's, driving 10 miles an hour in the fast lane with his, in his pickup, flat tire, car broke down. All kinds of things could happen that were unplanned, unforeseen, and really out of my control. So how long it took was really a combination of those two things, right? Control and uncontrolled. Well, projects are no different than that driving example. I always limited my thinking on variability to stuff that's happening to me on my project, the bad stuff, right? But I was really not thinking about and realizing the impact that I was having on the decisions I made, the things in my control that were generating or were causing variability. And that's what I want to really try to focus on today. So, there is positive variability. I want to acknowledge that. Because sometimes you come up with a construction method that's better than the plan, and it's faster and cheaper, and hey, that's really good. Or you have design-in variability. Let's say you have a large residential development. You're going to build 3,000 houses. Well, what if you offered one model home? May not sell so hot, right? So instead you're going to offer 12 model homes, or whatever the number is. So that you're introducing variability in the equation for an intended business purpose, right? So let's tackle each one of these things. First, let's look at the stuff that's not really in our control. Everybody knows that, bad stuff's going to happen on your project. I'm building a house. I just got a call yesterday from my roofer. Did you know that the scale on your drawing doesn't match the dimensions on your drawing? So when we scale off and did our takeoff on the number of shingles we need, we're 30% short. I said, you've got to be kidding me. It must be some software problem. You need to talk to your designer. Well, guess what? So we're short shingles. It's about ready to start raining again. And it created all kinds of problems for me. So forget my schedule. Because my schedule is to have that roof on that house by the end of next week. Well, that's out the window, right? So in general, my experience is most of the time we publish the schedule on a project. By the time we got published, it was already out of date. We were already out of date because all the stuff that happened on the project while we're taking the time to massage and generate that schedule. You'll never forget, as a project manager, you have these life moments where you never forget where you were when you got bad news, right? I will never forget the call I got. Your compressed, your big 15,000 horsepower motor, yeah. No, this was the heart and soul of the process plant that I was a project manager of. And it was being shipped from the East Coast to the West Coast. Your motorway, well, we got some bad news for you. See, the train made a left-handed turn and your car kept going straight. Over and back. We'd been working on that motor for 2 years. I was a real believer in critical path scheduling until that. That's when my personal flip switch said, CPM doesn't work. Who would have envisioned this? Bad stuff is going to happen on the project. Well, so what can you do about it? Well, the only effective thing I've seen is the ability to plan and replan in a very rapid way. And I'm not talking about re-baseline the project, because that was a typical, plan A. You get behind, you have a mess, we re-baseline and add capacity and add more people, right? That was always a standard thing. The end goal never changed. Right, well, rebaselining is just a complete waste of time. All you said, you tried to right the ship on a disastrous project. Did rebaselining help? Yeah, my experience is it's just a total waste of time. It gives you, you feel warm and fuzzy for a little while till you realize you're not even on your rebaseline plan. So the only effective means I've seen is something called production control. And you're going to hear quite a bit about that today. And it's really different than project controls. I'm not talking about project controls. As I told you before, I lean in really heavy in project controls. Cost and schedule trending, earned value progress, understand where we are, all that stuff. And looking back now, I can see, it didn't give me the insight I needed. It didn't tell me where we were going. It was like I was in a car with my foot on the accelerator, looking in the rearview mirror, and I was going full reverse. The data we're getting were 2 to 3 months old. It was inaccurate on where we were because it gave yourselves all kinds of partial credit for things that really didn't matter because it masked the underlying issues that we really had. So production control, on the other hand, provides a real-time understanding of the work that needs to be done, what's not done, and if it's not done, why didn't it get done? So that leaders can focus on solving the problems that prevent the planned work, the important work, from being done. So when we show up on a project, typically,
What kind of assess a project?
and this happened when I worked for Chevron as well, we asked a really simple question. What are you planning on doing tomorrow? Then we come back and actually say, well, how much of that did you get done? Now, if you're well versed in production management, you better get this right. If it's new to you, I want to hear what you think. So we're going to run a quick poll. So if you get out your phones and go to that barcode, it should pop up a website, and just go in there and put your answer on average, what percentage of craft work plan 1 day in advance is actually completed. So believe works. Is that working? Sure. You had a little nervous this morning on this poet. Yeah, you get it? And hey, let's look at some results down. Online. Now, I'm pleased to see, given our audience, that this is good, because we find, I'm moving about 50%. It's hard to think about that, not banning. We have work planned 1 day in advance, and only about half of it actually gets done. And we think we could forecast a project 5 to 10 years down the road and say we were going to be done. When we can't even forecast how much we're going to do the next day, just let that sink in. Well, I can start to understand this. I go, that's not good. No wonder we can't keep it. No wonder we can't deliver prey on time. So, variability, as I said before, is that the plan killer, the only effective way I've seen of dealing with that uncontrollable, the out of my control variability. This is the rapidly plan and replan and get that number from 50% up to 80 to 90%. I only have more of a stable
work environment, have more of a rhythm, I count on getting things done, and I'm solving a problem, implement the needed work to keep getting done, right? And so you're going to hear a lot more about production control later on, so I'm not going to dive into the steps of project control. So, hang on to that thought. Be curious about that. We have some other folks that are going to talk about that who have had a lot of success in dealing with variability and driving project performance using production control. Now, if I focus on the stuff that we do control, that I actually find far more interesting. And the other one that interesting, that this is stuff like this was a real eye-opener for me. Human nature causes us to protect ourselves from variability. So I've been given a response. So this is all you have to. I was construction manager on that overruns, Texas, and I had accountability for time and cost of that construction work, and turning over to operations for startup and beneficial operations. So my strategy was, I want all my stuff. I want all my materials. I want all my drawings. I want to be able to pick and choose what we work on unencumbered, right? And I was just a crazy man on that project, trying to drive everybody to get that done with some success. So why did I do that? I didn't want anybody impacting me. I was accountable for construction. I wasn't accountable for the overall project. So I sat down with my problem. My problem was, what was that going to cost? How long was it going to take, right? So I focused on what I was accountable for, and I focused on that. So what was the net effect on the project? I had to build and rent some substantial warehouse capacity. And all that was in the budget. We spent significantly more money early on in the project by buying equipment earlier than we actually needed it. And it set there, the clock hot. Well, it was way needed salt. And then I had to maintain and protect all this stuff. For some reason, all that equipment seems to get legs. And, operations says, this isn't working today. Hey, you need the app one. Let's go rummage through there where also and valves and all kinds of things start disappearing. Engineering, we pushed them hard. It was good on the ragged edge. Quality was not so hot. So we had a lot of rework because of that. And we missed a lot of opportunities for optimization to kind of save the overall project substantial. But it was, hey, what time for that? We got to get on. We got to schedule it. So did my strategy work? Well, it sort of worked for construction, although, it was mandated that it seemed like every time you're trying to get something done, some system done or something, we're always missing something. Where's that widget? Well, we ordered it. It said we got it here, but we can't find it. So sometimes we just literally couldn't find it because there's so much stuff. Where team goes for app. So it seemed like we're always kind of missing the important things that we needed. Yes, we had to buy new stuff. Some of the things engineering purchase, it was just too late, so we had to throw away buy new stuff. And we lost, like I said, we lost a lot of value rushing this thing very well. So as looking at it, I step back and look at the project as a whole. I drove things that were good for construction, but detrimental to the overall project. Because my actions, that project ended up costing more and taking longer than it would have otherwise. Not a good thing. And again, we tied up cash the company could have used early in that project elsewhere in the system upon short-term project. So why was I trying to, how did I do that? It's simple. Human nature. I was trying to protect myself from variability, things that impacted me and my scope. So with those eyes, start looking at other things we've done. This is a big offshore project, being an LNG plant in north of Auckland, Australia. And we had a sail intake. And the pressure of sail intakes, right? So you're sitting here, I know that pretty. And you just don't want to change your sail intake. Okay? So, hey, we assessed the completeness of the work. Okay, we're good. Yeah, we can sail it. Let's go. So we put the thing out there, got it in place, then did a really thorough inspection. When we found it, oh, cow, that's a lot of work here. There was so much work. We had to remobilize a flotel that we had just demobilized. And it took 6 months to complete, and it barely got done ahead of the LNG plant. Just barely. So we almost had a material impact on production. So, These are the kind of things that we do, decisions that we make that generate variability. And it's usually, when I think about this, it's usually done in the pursuit of low cost. You think we're going to save money when we do these things, and it has an unintended consequence of creating more variability. Variability always degrades performance, or nearly always degrades performance. So let me illustrate another real life example. How we do it on goof, okay, confession. This is another big project in Cosmic Science. We had a strategy of more a low cost development approach. So we're going to have a heavy modularized approach, big module, right? You get the history there, difficult working environment, weak craft capability, and just really extreme weather, really cold in winter time, really long winters, really hot summer time. I mean, really extreme. So we were, let's protect ourselves and all that with a big modular strategy. So we implemented that. We had the engineering was done in Europe. We sourced all the equipment in Europe. We found a great shipyard that made modules, process modules in Korea. Got good pricing from them. I'm doing good here. Good pricing. All right. So we had to ship all the stuff we bought from Europe, Korea. Okay. The Koreans then sourced the regular stuff like pipe and cable and cable print, all that just regionally. They got some of these giant modules. These are huge. That was like the size of this building. Could bear half the size of this building kind of module. Very large modules. Then we shipped them on ocean transport back to Europe. And they were too large to get through the waterways that lead you into the Caspian Sea over that canal. So we had to take the modules and cut them apart. We had to build transshipment yards where we could offload these big modules, take them apart, move the little modules. We had to build a fleet of made-for-purpose barges to go down the canal system. Okay? And then, of course, Caspian Sea, we didn't have a port, so we had to build a big port there. So we had a place to offload the modules. We offloaded them there. We had a 200-kilometer haul road that we had to build up the job site. We drug the modules up there. Then we had to restack it. We had to put them back together. Right? So we restacked it, and then we moved them on site using their location. Low cost. This is a bit. Right? You're probably telling me they'll that's one of the applications of that. You had a huge impact on engineering. When you tackle a modularized job, you fundamentally change sequence of engineering. And if you're not mindful of that, what it does to engineering, heaven help you, you're going to have a disaster in your hands. So the interesting thing about this job, it's only about, in reality, only about half of the kit could be modularized. The other half had to be stick filled, traditional way. We ended up with two different projects inside the project. The engineering for the modules, the engineering for the stick. Do you think the process piping cared whether it was in a module or a stick build? No. So that created a lot of complication of, well, how do you do the accelerated engineering to support the modules? And then that engine created, but that's so we struggled with engineering. As you can imagine, we had to buy all the equipment really early. A nice quality yield, really welcome. Eat it. Actually, early front-loaded all cash up to the project to support the module strategy. In fact, most of the warranties are expired even for, it's just current not operating, but most of the warranties on the equipment are actually expired. Long time ago. So you got hands-free sharp. We had, as you can imagine, we had module fab issues, late engineering, transportation issues. The only thing that kind of didn't happen is we didn't drop a module in the ocean. And that's happened before. We didn't drop one in the ocean. We didn't drop one in the canal. The Russians didn't shut us down due to political airfare. So that was like most of the big wins. But everything else you can imagine that could go kind of go wrong, kind of let off. Again, what did we do with our cash flow? What was our unproductive capital for years? And it's still there as unproductive capital, by the way. It's very negative for the company. So looking back, I always kind of try to look back at my old projects and say, what would I have done differently? Now that I kind of have a better understanding of variability, what if they did this kind of approach? I still think some degree of modulation strategy was good. It's just building in the wintertime there is super expensive. It's very difficult, very dangerous, it's very difficult. So I would have found a consulate partner, develop a fence shop somewhere, create a new business, invest in businesses all the time, create a new business, do the engineering, buy equipment in Europe, ship it to site using conventional lease, armed rail, trucks, airplanes, however Marley would get there. Right? I might still have to build a port, I don't know. But it wouldn't have been the port that we built out there to do that. Wouldn't have a vendors, wouldn't have a fleet barges. And so ship everything in, have it delivered to the module fab site, build the modules, and then have it delivered to the site so there's no restacking, and they fit in the sequence of construction that's optimal for the completion of the facilities to support startup. So this team, hopefully, has far less variability. No, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but far less variability than the one we chose to have low cost. And the project is at anything but low cost, let's put it that way. Plus, then the Republic would have had a new business. They could have supported the entire oil and gas industry if we picked a location for that fan shop. Then it get a smart and efficient. So what are the implications of this for energy transition? I said the climate change driving a lot of change in the energy sector. How variability is managed on these projects, especially how we generate, how ultimately have a lot to do with the performance. Most everything I've seen here, slim budgets. I mean, these are not hard-burner economics. And I see some really challenging schemes. I mean, it's someone who's making hydrogen from water and aluminum. Now stop and think about this. We have solids, liquids, gas, all synchronized in a batch and continuous flow process. I mean, this makes my head hurt just to think about how you physically do that. And it's generating a lot of work with hydrogen, biofuels, natural gas, LNG, solar, nuclear. I'm just curious, are you touching the energy transition today and your work is see who put other people on it. So we're observing. It's really interesting. There's kind of two kinds of energy transition projects, two types out there. One is the big data project that would be very large hydrogen kind of development. The technology may not even exist today to do it at that scale. And then we have these other things that are distributed, tended to be repeatable. So are large in their own right, still very large projects, but very similar project, one location with other. We're calling those deployment type projects. And they have some very unique characteristics that we're going to talk about here. So what we observe, they have a lot of things to come. Yep, largely, they all have marginal economics, a lot of startups without capabilities to commercialize. Big players have a little trouble innovating, right? High product demand, low owner contractor capacity, competition from other sectors. So if you motor control center or some batteries or something on electrical, you're out competing with the whole data center world, right? For the kit that you need to do your facility. And private equity and system package terms, all over. Expectations are high. What do high expectations create? A bias for action. Let's move this thing forward. I can tell you from personal experience, new technology coupled with a bias for action, you're gonna waste a lot. So how do these two classes differ? You think about it. We get a sale, one location, one jurisdiction, and in a lot of ways it's far more less complex because you're dealing with one spot, one permit or one pile of permits. You usually have a single lead contractor, your contractor's a little more stable. Deployment, you have multiple locations, multiple jurisdictions. Think about if you're trying to do the same thing in China, Russia, the US, you might select the standards. They're all different. Basically, you can't just cut a repetitive design and exact creative design, but count numerous permits, many suppliers being numerous locations, which is a complexity, but also an opportunity if you manage your work as appropriate. And so you have a new job to manage, a deployment program for your company, right? Now, what can you do? Well, before I dive into that, I learned a little bit of groundwork with y'all. And if you get only one thing out of what I'm talking about today, other than I'm going over my time, basically look at this. This is so extremely important. I just got to land this. Using traditional project management methods is not going to result unless they're good. I just gave a whole bunch of examples. Because everything I did, there's something unusual about any of those things. Those are standard in the industry. Managing variability and producing predictable projects can only be done when you see the production side of the project. What am I talking about? We all have schedules, right? Schedules with the meat and potatoes project people. But the schedule is only the demand of what we call a production system. So it's like placing an order for takeout food. You call a restaurant, you initiate a demand, your order, to activate capacity, cooks, stuff out of the freezer, stuff out of the kitchen to assemble your food, prepare your food. And then to activate the driver capacities to pick up your food and deliver it. What happens if the restaurant gets more orders than they can handle? Well, you wait. You wait till they finally get down the queue. Our projects any different? No, it's exactly what happens with our projects. The schedule's the demand. It's the signal to activate capacity. The act of doing the work, the people, the equipment, the materials, the time, the space, the barges, the ships. That's the supply or the production system. The variability can't be managed through the schedule. I just gave you all these examples of that, right? Can only be managed through that production system. Using the science that drives production. You're going to hear a lot more about that today. So with that backdrop, here's some strategies that we recommend if you're in charge of one of those deployed projects. I'm not a slide reader, so we probably already read the slide now, but I want to get to that very last one. Map, model, and control a portfolio of similar investments. Hotly. This was just like such an aha for me. If you told me that it was possible to model a project accurately, so I know where we're going and when we're going to be done, I would have walked across hot coals to get my hands on. And I told you about how much I needed the project controls to get that understanding. I had no idea that there was actually technology exists to what I dreamed of getting. So if you can only remember two things from my remarks today. What was the first one? Curious. Well, be curious. All done. Well, that's a good one. Yeah. Project shaft production system. So the second, these production systems can be that model using operation size equation. This is applied science. That's all it is. To predict the outcome and real levers that I have as the owner to change the trajectory of that project. Okay? And this modeling I'm telling you about takes into account variability or skeptical. First time you heard this from, yeah, right. Yeah, sure. I'm like a consultant. Well, I want to give you another quick example. This is one we had within the company before I retired. And this is a large, complex FPSO, pre-FID. We did a production model to help us anticipate and mitigate production and schedule risk. So they did a complete analysis of the project. I made this slide intentionally impossible to read so you don't miss key points, so just hang tight. We mapped and modeled project plans, where they were at the time, to get all the way through completion of the project. On the left, we found two really critical things. On the left is the readiness of the engineering to support the AFC packages for bidding. A whole bunch of things had to come together to support the AFC package. On the right were all the topside modules that had to be delivered to the assembly yard to be assembled in the right, and the sequence is unforgivable on an FPSO because you're stacking things inside a hull. You have no choice. They have to go in the right sequence of design. We found these two really key points where a number of things converge like this that present a high risk of failure. So I'm going to take a quick ball. So get out your phones again. What do you think the probability, looking now on the right, what was the probability that the sub-assimilation would arrive at the fabrication yard in time for the sequence of integration? Got it? So most people taking cameras. I see the phones go down. We'll set the results. We've got a smart crowd here, and that's cool. Just nobody said, hey, you go out her. That's really interesting. I want to read you right out of a report what it said. Well, we'll make it together. Even in the case of almost perfect, reliable flows, the probability to arrive at the fabrication yard just in time, ready for integration is 60%, meaning 40% chance of failure. However, we know supply reliability is not 99%. Probably ranges between 50 to 70% when it results in a near 0% probability that we could make that happen. This was good news. We found this out pre-FID. Instead of later on, we didn't do anything about it. So in this project, as a result of this, we changed the sequence of work, we changed the capacity, we changed the contract strategy, we even changed all of our given floor guys to improve our odds of success and get these moved up and remove some of these difficulties. So, and then after designing the pre-FID system, we put the project, the engineering under production control. And so they complete the work on time. That is one of 100 projects that we had that actually completed our pre-FID work on time. It was way different. So, okay, that's your attention now. It's a little more curious. I would be remiss in pointing out that variability is just one of the 5 levers. You're going to hear more about the 5 levers today. I'm not going to go on saying these things work together. These are the levers based on operational science that you'll have as a project person or an operations person to change the trajectory of the project. And when you use all 5 of these levers, this is something staggering. When we consistently see a reduction 30 to 50% in project outcome, when you do this. Think about that. That's huge. We wasted, but that's another story. So I really pick that. I know I'm way over time, but I want to circle back to that first project I talked about. What would have I done differently if I was doing that again? I would have taken a completely different approach. Would have a model so I didn't even know what my production system was. But I would have created flow across this job site. Started the piling contractor at one end, figured out using the science how far behind you the pile proper needed to be. Using the science, figure out how far behind that this long the underground pipe needed to be. You just had these waves of work. I had a kilometer of work, plenty of space. But have these waves of successive work going across the job site, and then just continue on for the rest of the job this way. I estimate in a 5-year schedule, we could have taken 2 years off our schedule. And a substantial amount of high. And just think about the revenue associated with a big oil and gas plant with 2 extra years of that this year. So with that, I don't totally go on time. I've never been long for in respect to the other public presenters.